Calling all Barbados to Joe's River Bridge, St. Joseph.
We don't want to do this because what we are doing here is going to block you out from this side.
5:30 p.m. Massive cookout, big roadside parliament. We cannot awake one day to find that Barbados is not our own. Hear from veteran speaker Nigel Newton. Our heritage, our own. Let's enjoy it. See you there.
Yes, yes, Barbados. Yes, yes, Caribbean. Yes, yes, the world. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show, and I'm coming to you live from Barbados, the most easterly Caribbean country. We are so happy that you have joined us tonight. How are you doing? How was your day? I'm hoping that you had a fantastic day today. I had a little somber day. I'm going to tell you all about it, but I'm here in live and in living color. Yes, I know that we're excited about this weekend, aren't we? Aren't we excited about this weekend? This weekend, guys, what's happening this weekend on Sunday? Where are we going to be on Sunday? I know some of you know, all you're thinking about is the soup. Because you remember the last time you went down there, you had some nice dumplings. Huh? And listen, man, they had a big pot cooking. They set up a fire, man, near the river. A huge pot. Who remember that? Who remember that big pot? Yes. It might have been 2 pots. And they were serving up the soup, and we just had a ball right there at Joe's River. So this time we're going to have the soup again, but while we're going to enjoy the soup, the reason we're going to Joe's River, guys, is that we are making a protest. This roadside parliament is really a protest. You know, we're saying, like our ancestors, we're going to occupy Joe's River. We're not going to let any foreign developer tell us that we cannot go to Joe's River and tell us where we can go and where we can't go. We're going to enjoy the river. So we're going to walk in the river. Make sure you bring your little slippers that, you know, and the kind of clothes that you can pull up the pants foot and walk. Put your foot in the river. Stake down your claim. Stake your claim. All right. This is our heritage. It's our heritage. It's our children's heritage. And I don't see why anybody should be staying home on Sunday. We've even made a bus available for you this Sunday, Independence Square. There's going to be a bus at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. And you don't have any excuses. All we ask, give a donation for the bus. Okay? Give a donation to the bus. Bring a donation to give for the bus. You know how we do it here. We do things together. All right. We don't want it to be too difficult for anybody at all. So you come at 2 o'clock. Don't be late. Don't be late so that we can start down the road on time. All right. And those of you who are driving, don't drive by yourself. No, don't drive by yourself. If you're in St. Philip and you need a ride and you can drive, you don't have your vehicle, but you need a ride. There's somebody who wants to drive, but they don't want to drive to come back. All right. So if that's you and you're in St. Philip, give me a call. 1-246-236-7000. You know, once you're in Barbados, we can forget the 246. All right. So 236-7000 is a number to call. If you are in St. Philip and you need a ride to get to Joe's River. All right. And guess what, guys? We are asking, Mr. Lewis said to me, Marcia, why don't we ask the people like they did last time? Because some people, they might have some, you know, extra vegetables at home, right? And you want to bring something to put in the soup pot. Huh? Now, if you want to bring something to put in the soup pot, you call me again. Everybody know that number. It's easy. Write it down. 236-7000. 236-7000. You want to put something in the pot, in the soup pot, 236-7000. And Mr. Lewis You know, he sent me a list, and we're just going to take a look at that list. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that list right about now. And I know I didn't welcome you and I didn't do the anthem yet, but I want to do this early. Listen, they want some chives and some thyme. They want sweet potato, English potato, okras, right? And walk with some soup bowls. Don't just walk with yourself for yourself. Walk with some soup bowls and spoon and some pumpkin. You have pumpkin, flour, chives and thyme, flour, sweet potato, English potato, okras, soup bowl, and pumpkin and spoons, right? So give us a call. Those of you who know where Caswell is, right there. Oh, my camera is moving. Number 5, 6th Avenue. All right. Then you can go by Caswell's Union, 9 to 5. We always go there to drop off our stuff. And I'm sure that it's no problem. Just drop off the once you go within the work time, Mr. Franklin will keep them for us. Okay. And so that we can collect them, and you know, we'll be able to collect them on Friday. Or go ahead and call me, right? Go ahead and call me. All right. So let me just say a big good night to everybody. Teroni, good night. Are you coming to Jones River? Monica Ince, Jacqueline Ward, you're coming and you're packing up the car. Judy Jilks, I know once you're feeling better, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. Marcia, are you coming? Jacqueline, Aline, are you coming? Are you going to be there? Rommel King, Kate, Lucinda, Aline, Mystic Angel, Sharon Ennis, Fracturelesque, Vihoy. I know you can't be there, Vihoy. Vihoy is in the diaspora. Matthew Brown, Matthew, you coming? You coming, Matthew? Listen, I need you all to be there. I need you all to be there. Everybody come out. Everybody come out, okay? Make sure you are there. All right, all right, all right. Well, we're going to go right into the playing of the national anthem. And you know, loyal opposition, this is our song. This is what we march under. This is what we stand up for, right? This is what it's all about. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand at attention to the playing of the national anthem.
Who
my goodness. How many of you sing along with the anthem? At least part of it. A lot of times I say parts of it I sing along when in my house. How many of you? Let me see the thumbs up of you who sing along with the anthem, and sing like you're singing good. Trying to convince ourselves that we're singing good. How many of you? Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Oh Lordy. Well, there's that line in there that says strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. And that's who we are. We are creating our own fate. We are not waiting on a politician. We are not waiting on the government. Yes, there are some things that the government needs to do because they come and they ask us for our votes so that they would lead and that they would rule. Yeah, and while they're governing, it is our right as Barbadian citizens to be able to say to them, hold a minute. What's happening there? It's not what we bargained for. It's not what's in the manifesto, right? We should be able to say that. And so tonight, our question is Barbados becoming a dictatorship? The people versus the government overreach. Tonight, in tonight's show, we have an update on the cybercrime bill. Yes, we have an update on the cybercrime bill tonight, and Senator Andre Worrell is going to give us that update because everything that happened with it happened within the Senate. And so he's going to give us an update on what is happening, because I really want to know if it is that they're really trying to imprison us and to fine us for speaking. Yeah. And then we're going to also talk about the Barbados broken healthcare system. I was speaking to somebody today who went to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital with their minor and had to wait a day and something before they could see a doctor. It is still happening, guys. Still happening. Doctors are saying that they're working, 40-something hours, more than 40 hours. No wonder you're going to have mistakes because those poor doctors, they're overworked. So do we have a broken healthcare system? Yeah, so we're going to talk about that tonight. And we're also going to look at the whole thing of the importance of dismantling the Barbados one-party state. And we've been talking about that for over a year now, that we have a de facto one-party state in Barbados. And it seems like those in government of course, they would love for it to be that way, that there's no opposition, nobody to oppose them, thankfully, we had one of their senators standing up and saying, speaking up for heritage and against the development of the whole town civil center. So we want to thank God for that. But in essence, Yolande, we don't have it. And I see what is happening in St. Vincent as well. There's a corruption right throughout the Caribbean, corruption in our justice system, and so tonight we want to talk about that. There in St. Vincent, actually, the case again with the vaccine mandates against the workers in St. Vincent. The workers lost the case. They won it, and then the government decides to appeal it. And now here people call me today who are going to lose their homes and all kinds of things in St. Vincent, Yolande. So we're going to, hopefully we can get people from St. Vincent to come on Sunday to deal with that on our Sunday show. We're going to try to get that done for you. But we want to make sure that we're carrying that news. I was following it today, what's happening in St. Vincent. Other countries have reinstated and have paid their employers for the monies that they would have lost when they were not employed, but not St. Vincent. St. Vincent, the workers won the case, and then they appealed it. The government appealed it, and they won the appeal. The government won the appeal against the workers. I tell you, this is This is really, really devastating for the people in St. Vincent, and you know, it is because they have been dealing with a dictatorship as well. You know, their situation is that, as far as I remember, that prime minister has been in power for over 20 something years. And it seems to me that there's some people in Barbados who believe that this is what needs to happen right here in Barbados, that we need to have somebody in power for that long. It seems like that is what they want, because of the kind of jokes that they're running. They want to, any other party that comes up, they say, oh, they're not good enough, and only me and Motley can run this country, etc. Is it that you wanted to be like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where the prime minister, he was, I don't know, somebody burst his head. I don't know what happened there at the protest, or I don't know how his head got burst, but then he had to fly to Barbados to get help. Not even a proper hospital over there. And the level of corruption that is in St. Vincent, and we are just right there with them, actually. And this is how we want Barbados to run under a one-party state. And that's why tonight we're asking, is Barbados becoming a dictatorship? Yeah, when we look at the cybercrime bill and what is happening with that, we're going to get an update on that tonight. We're also going to talk with the president of the Democratic Labour Party and also the general secretary, and they will be on here, and you can call in, ask questions, etc. And because it's important that there is political participation, whichever party you want to vote for. Last times I vote for third parties. I have them on the show all the time. I believe Corey Beckles will be on Sunday or so from the new third party. But the point is that it's important that we have healthy political participation, and we have healthy political parties. It's to our detriment, guys, if we have a country where we don't have, there are no options. So when you laugh and you say, oh, that party is decimated, it will never come back to life, who is that going to hurt? It's us. So that when they have they want to do that kind of development at Joe's River, when the prime minister is also the minister over planning and development, and there are no checks and balances and not enough people in parliament in order to stop some of these legislations and these policies, etc., and they go through, and then we're crying. We need to have a healthy opposition, healthy political parties, proper political participation of the citizens. Important. And we're going to challenge all the political parties to step up to the bar, come up to the bar, that the people, there are particular things that we want from our political parties, and we need to speak to all of them to come up and step up to the bar. We're seeing decisions being made without public input, lack of transparency in governance. Look at what has happened with the Hope, with the Hope project, the Hope houses, and now they're trying to convince us that they're going to the Hope that is still alive, when they have not yet told us what happened to the $60 million. They haven't told us what has happened to that yet. Right, where they're now seeking to use censorship and a suppression of dissent. They're trying to limit free speech. That's what the government of Barbados is seeking to do. What's going to happen to journalists? Well, they're so scared right now. Journalists are scared in this country. They're trying to get activists scared. Every day people call me, Marcia, aren't you afraid what they're going to do to you? Everybody, why is everybody afraid of the prime minister? Those from St. Vincent watching, well, that's the reality. A lot of people, lawyers have said, listen, I don't want to do this because the government. Why is everybody afraid of this government? Everyday citizens, people are scared they're going to lose their job. Is Barbados becoming a dictatorship? I want us to call in the call-in section. Write the number down, 246-236-7000. Let's talk about this. This is our country, right? It's important that we all get involved. We get in, Bob. Democracy only works when the people stay engaged. It's when the people stay engaged that democracy works. Apart from that, it's just an idea on a piece of paper or in our minds. But when we stay engaged, like what's happening in Whole Town Civic Center, what's happened there in Gibbs Gully, what's happening in St. Joseph, what happens at Ballantine Plantation, and everybody that in that particular community, when Digicel was going to put up that poll, you remember, and the citizens say hell no. That's when democracy works, when the people stay engaged. We need fair and just government, right? These are the things we need to encourage. Activism, encourage our voice, the people who are speaking out, encourage the people who are speaking out, and and those that are taking the chances to speak out. Yes, workers are afraid, lawyers are afraid. Yeah, they're all afraid, and a lot of people, legitimately, people have written me and said, Marcia, I can't do it. I'm not self-employed. I might lose my job. It's a reality of, well, this is where we live. There's just a lot of fear. So I think that it is so important. So important. I want us to call in. We've created the 9 o'clock hour at 9 to 10 for you to call in to voice your concerns. Speak up. Speak up. If there's no participation from the people, there's no democracy. Political participation is important. If the political parties are not doing what they're supposed to do, then we need to call them to a higher level. We call them to a higher level. Everybody, because it is us. They want these jobs, and they are going to come and they're going to beg us. That's basically what happens. We employ them and we put them there. Yeah, guys, I'm going to ask you to like, to share, and to subscribe. We have a great program coming up for you this evening. As I have been saying, that we have we're going to talk about dismantling Barbados and the one-party state, and we look also at Honorable Ralph Thorne's his 1 year as a leader of opposition Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear me. Am I still live? Can you hear me? Hi, Jacqueline. I'm seeing Jacqueline and I'm seeing Kate and M. Gardner. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. Anybody out there? Anybody out there? It's telling me yes. Okay, wow. Yes, wonderful. Listen, I have some great great viewers. Oh my Lord, loyal opposition. I tell you, that's why I love you all so much. I knew that there a couple of you are going to stay on. And now what we're going to take some time, folks, and we are going to share. Let them know we are back on. That means tonight's show is going to be great, right? Tonight, everybody, in every chat that you can get, I'm going to give you some time. In every chat that you can get. Oh, we can't play anything. It's not it. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Anybody can hear me? Somebody said loud and clear. Oh, wonderful. Okay, the Facebook isn't on. Oh, the Facebook isn't on. So, folks, this is what I would like to do. I would like to get my Starlink done. Right to Elon Musk. Okay. If I have that, then I don't have to worry about what's happening in Barbados, right? And that's what I want. I want to be connected to Starlink. What do you all say about that? What do you all think about that? So we're not going to be able to share and to play anything. It seems like we don't have enough internet at home. This is not strong enough as yet to do anything. So I really hoping that I'm in and out. Okay. All right. So let me see if my guests can come back in while you share. So I'm just going to give you some time to share. Let me see if there's anything that if I can play anything while you share, while you like and share. Yes. How about that? Let's see if we can like and share. We can play anything while you like and share. Ah, good. We can play something.
A lot about heritage. We're actively building out at Newton Burial Ground. We have done some works at Golden Square so that people could better understand the story of what happened there. Right now, there's a simple obelisk standing in commemoration of the landing. I think that we could do more to tell the story of this site, not just of English settlement, but the story of the Amerindian community who were here before all of us, our indigenous population who were decimated. I understand that there's tremendous economic value for any beachfront in Whole Town, but can we save some of it for us? Even if we don't keep the police station there, my personal view is that this should always be publicly accessible land. Ideally, I would love to see a green space. I would love to see some kind of creativity go into what could be designed to go there so people can enjoy and get a better understanding of the history. We've heard the cases being made about traffic congestion in the area. I don't know how having a 9-story hotel on one side of the canal and a 7-story hotel on the other side of the canal are going to alleviate traffic congestion. It's already a mess, let's be honest. We haven't heard about environmental impact. We know that the West Coast is not secured when we're adding additional hotel rooms. How is this going to affect the coast? And in terms of beach access, other than Bats Rock And I can't tell you a facility where I can park, have a sea bath, turn around and shower, pack my bag and leave comfortably. Everywhere else along the West Coast since the 19th to come and build wall to wall to wall to wall to wall. We have no view, and if you want to get on the beach, we are squeezing.
Hi, good night, good night, good night. Okay, so somebody says that they're hearing. It seems like we're being told here that it's all over Airy Hill, Vineyard, St. Philip, Digicel having problems, everybody having problems, Messiah Street, St. John, Amity Lodge, Christ Church, all over. There seem to be a problem.
West Coast is not sewered when we're adding additional hotel rooms. How is this going to affect the coast? And in terms of beach access, other than Batsrock and Folkestone, I can't tell you a facility where I can park, have a sea bath, turn around and shower, pack my bags and leave comfortably. Everywhere else along the West Coast, because coastal development in Barbados, particularly on the West Coast, since the 1950s, has allowed wealthy, usually foreign developers to come and build wall to wall to wall to wall to wall. We have no view, and if you want to get on the beach, we are squeezing between a couple of walls. I love Gibbs Beach, but I am always wary about wringing an ankle when I have to go on to Gibbs Beach. And we know what the practice has been for decades. I cannot sit here and be a part of something where I feel like we're allowing it, we're perpetuating the problem. So like Senator Boyce would have said, we need to be very, very clear on what the guardrails are for these developers. Tourism is notoriously extractive, we know that. We heard about job creation, but then still we heard the workers' union overwhelmingly telling us there are challenges with regards to the treatment of hotel workers. A lot of them are being hired only on a part-time basis, basically being brought on between November and April, being sent home during the summer months. What we know is that the average room attendant is making around $440 in a luxury, because there are different categories of hotels. Luxury is the highest paid. They're taking home $447 a week, I think. So when we talk about job creation, we also need to think about the quality of jobs that we're creating. What I would like to see personally in this new Barbados, in this new republic, let's start having a conversation about Barbadian ownership. How do we get a piece of the pie? How do we get to participate? Golden Square so that people could better understand the story of what happened there. Right now, there's a simple obelisk standing in commemoration of the landing. I think that we don't sit here and be a part of something where I feel like we're allowing it, we're perpetuating the problem. So like Senator Boyce would have said, we need to be very, very clear on what the guardrails are for these developers. Tourism is notoriously extractive, we know that. We heard about job creation, but then still we heard the workers' union overwhelmingly telling us there are challenges with regards to the treatment of hotel workers. A lot of them are being hired only on a part-time basis, basically being brought on between November and April, being sent home during the summer months. What we know is that the average room attendant is making around $440 in a luxury, because there are different categories of hotels. Luxury is the highest paid. They're taking home $447 a week, I think. So when we talk about job creation, we also need to think about the quality of jobs that we're creating. What I would like to see personally in this new Barbados, in this new republic, let's start having a conversation about Barbadian ownership. How do we get a piece of the pie? How do we get to participate?
Hello. Good night again. We don't even know when we're being heard or what. Hey, everybody. Oh, wow. So some people were saying internet problems all over. Okay. All right. We're just playing some videos until we can get hold of our guests to see what guests we have left. Because so many persons, but you know, we're going to do our best. We're going to have fun tonight. Okay. So over to Dave.
It is to enfranchise those who are already well enfranchised. And do not tell the people of Barbados that these housing projects are designed for any poor people. They are not. Not for any poor people. Stop fooling the poor people in this country. Stop fooling them. Stop fooling them that it has ever been this government's purpose to house them. Never been this government's purpose.
Yes, yes, folks. Yes, folks. Yes, folks. Is Barbados becoming a dictatorship? The people versus the government overreach. Well, let me tell you something. We have got to find other ways of doing our broadcast, because can you imagine? You know, just one flick of a switch and we are off, people. We are off. But let me just use this opportunity to say to us in Barbados, listen, people, the fight is on for our country. I could feel it. I could feel the atmosphere is changing. Don't you feel that something is happening in Barbados? I think today alone we had 2 robberies. We're hearing of deaths every single day. We just heard that our beloved Trevor Marshall has died. Trevor Marshall has died. Like, we ask ourselves, how many more deaths can we take? This is happening, and we've got to be able to become self-sufficient. We have to be able to live off the grid. You know, all of this is so important. Okay. And so this is why I say to us, Barbadians, we've got to, as a people, we've got to come together. A lot of times we are depending on government, and we're depending on the politician, and we're depending on the pastor, and we're everybody but ourselves and God. Right? We're going to have to take responsibility. It's the people versus the government overreach. Don't expect the government is going to help us with the government overreach. The government, if there's an overreach of government, it is the people of Barbados that's going to have to push back. Democracy is no democracy without the participation of the people. And you see how we're fighting through this internet issue? That is how we have to fight, regardless of what is happening around us. We make up our mind that we're going to take back our country. You see, we've got to love our country enough that we are going to say, hell no. As we would say, not over my dead body. It's not going to happen in here. We have to reach that stage, right? Yes, hey, Kate says, instead of being independent, we've turned into dependents. That's it. And waiting on somebody to solve the problem for us. Yes, there is something. You see, the head is bad. The head is bad. The head is bad. And that is why you're seeing all of this corruption and this crime that is happening in Barbados. The head of the country, those that are leading, those that are making decisions, There's too much corruption. There is too much wickedness that is happening in this country, and we're seeing it filter down. Right? We are seeing it filter down in right into the society. That's what's happening. When we see a situation where a child takes a gun or does all this gun violence and all of these things happening in the country, we always say, what you look to see the home and the community that the child is from, right? Yeah, we do that. We look at the home, we look at the community that the child is from. Yeah. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of the times, what's happening in the household affects how the child behaves. And we're seeing our children, these are our children in Barbados, they're acting up. They're killing each other. Young black boys killing each other, stabbing each other. And we're not going to stop and look at what's happening in the country. The head of the country is bad. And let me tell you, they could come up with all kinds of things, which they're not coming up with anything. Do you realize that these people here, they're working in collusion? A lot of these people in the leadership, a lot of these people who are governing, they are colluding. Don't you see what is going on? Instead of them coming and telling us where the guns are coming from and stop it, the flow of guns, these idiots come together to tell us, oh, they've banned toy guns. Now, I do understand that some people will use toy guns and try to hold up people and take their money, but that is not the real problem. And that is what's going on. They are not going to the root of the problem. We have a problem with crime, and the Prime Minister comes and tells us the way to solve it is to remove tint. So whether it's from tint to toy guns, you think they take us for idiots? They take us for fools. Yes, peace. That's what I'm saying. There is a cloud. Don't you see that there is like a cloud over the country? Am I reading into this a bit more than I'm supposed to? There's almost like this dreary thing over the country. Huh? Don't you see this thing like a blanket of this thing over the country? Are you tired of hearing about the crime? Are you tired of hearing about the violence? Is it difficult when you go to the supermarket? It is just, when you talk to young people, they're telling you, ma'am, it is just hard. Our country is changing before our very eyes. Our country is changing right before our very eyes. That is what is happening. Right? Lord, let me tell you, you're not going to want to hear what I am saying. But you see, our governance, when you have unrighteous people, wickedness in rule, and this is what we want the other political parties to understand. When it's like a blanket of sin is over the country, a blanket of corruption and sin, degradation, wickedness. And we need to hold all of these political parties, everybody who is coming to lead. Barbados, we can do this. The last thing I'm going to say before we play this video, I see some of my guests are coming in. Mr. Clyde Griffith is there again. Yes, he is. We're gonna go to him, but so our program is a little different tonight. So let's just flow with it. Do you know, I'm gonna release this right here, and the math brains can work it out. But do you know that Jamaica is 2.8 million people? That's the population, 2.8 something million. and Barbados is 2020. What's Barbados population? Dave, help me. 280,000. So that's about 1/10 of Jamaica. The population of Barbados is about 1/10 of Jamaica. Yeah. Do you know that at this present moment, the crime rate in Barbados is higher than Jamaica? I'm not talking about the number of crimes, because some of you don't act like you go Sunday school. I am talking about the rate of crime, because you're going to say, oh, she's saying that there are more crime, more people being killed in Barbados. Well, I'm talking about the rate of crime. And go and check it. Do you know that last year Jamaica's crime rate was down? And Jamaica is considered the murder capital. They're right up there with Colombia, one of these countries, murder capital of the world. And you're going to tell us this peaceful country, Barbados, at this moment, right here, right now, the rate of murders is higher than Jamaica right now. Or when I checked it 3 or so days ago. Something is wrong, and it's wrong at the head. It is wrong at the head. Something is drastically wrong, and it's wrong at the head. The head is oozing. So I think we are a little settled here. Let's just hear a little bit of Mr. Rob Thorne. I'm going to ask my guests to bear with me, because we've had to take a little change. Those of you who are watching, we ask you kindly, just when this video is going, start to share and like. We've got to get the people back on the platform, and we need your participation. We need your help to make this happen. So everybody, please just like, share. Okay, Dave, let's play some of this. Thank you.
Culture refers obviously to the habits, the practices, the norms. It is that totality of life. It is how we behave, how we function, how we relate to each other, how we pray to God even. That is a part of the culture. How we party together. We all know that righteousness exalteth a nation, and sin is a reproach to any people. You are hearing the voice of a sinner. I am no paragon of virtue. I merely try to be a moral force for good. And I appeal to all my colleagues in here, all 30 of us, including you, sir, to be able that when we leave here and when we finish with the business of this parliament, to be able to say to our constituents and this country that we have tried to be moral forces for good. Somebody must stand up in this country and address the issue of a culture that is in decay. When I was at school, we didn't start off with that. Your Honor, every time I hear the hymn, new every morning is the love, or awakening and uprising prove, through sleep and darkness, safely brought, restored to life and power and thought. Up to today, some of my colleagues in here remember that hymn. And every time I hear that hymn, it transports me back to my school hall at Grace Hill, to my school hall at Wesley Hall, to my school hall at Harrison College. And to this day, it means something to me. What does it mean to a child today when he goes to school and before his classes start, he has to be repeating in a schoolyard with his colleagues? You like Mobby? Don't be afraid. And you can take the bark off of somebody. And when you're done with she, you can bring she sister. And that's how our school children start the day. Righteousness exalts a nation. Sin is a reproach to any people. Music is so powerful. You may hear someone morning at 7 coming down in the car, and all 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you still singing it. It is as powerful as that, Your Honor. Music touches the soul. How are we touching the souls of our little children? Are we touching their souls with sex and violence at the age of 10? For God's sake, at the age of 10, let us give to our children lives that will be memorable, not lives that will be snuffed out when they reach 18 or 19 or 20. Let us not condemn our children to a prison. Let us give them the freedom of wholesomeness. It used to be something that was so cherished, wholesomeness. A friend of mine asked me just this week, do you see anybody going to Sunday school now? Sunday mornings used to be the gentle hour. The gentle hour. We can't blame the churches if the people not going. It's not the church's fault. The decision is made elsewhere for people who breach their responsibility to their children. I don't blame the churches. Righteousness will exalt this nation, and sin will continue to be a reproach to our people. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Wow. I think that sums it up, and it's a call for all of us, every single one of us. Well, we, as you know, we're literally about half hour behind because of the internet issue that we all had. It's all across the nation, and I'm glad that we are back on tonight. Well, I have with me Mr. CLYDE GRIFFITH, and he's going to be he'll be up first, and then we will have Mr. Pedro Shepherd and the president of the DLP, Senator Andre Worrell. They are going to come up after him because we're literally half hour behind. Mr. CLYDE GRIFFITH is a founding member of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, having been instrumental in its establishment as an official non-governmental organization in May 2011. Mr. GRIFFITH is a former career diplomat and Minister for Energy, as well as a senator for the government of Barbados. He has also held senior lecturing positions at the University of Columbia and the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, where until recently he was a lecturer in the law, governance, and politics undergraduate program. Well, we are very, very pleased to have with us, really pleased and honored to have with us Mr. CLYDE GRIFFITH. Let me say a hearty welcome to Mr. CLYDE GRIFFITH. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening to all. I've been listening patiently, and I've been listening to Mr. Rob Thorne expand on the whole question of morality in government particularly. And I like his delivery, but there's a lot more to be done on that. My purpose here tonight, and I want to thank you for inviting me on, is to talk about a very troubling situation as it relates to this whole mass deportation thing that is coming out of the United States by the new president.
Yes.
I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm not here to criticize Mr. Trump, although I've done enough of that in the last 6 months or so. I'm here, quite frankly, to talk about the impact of this whole issue as it relates to deporting people, particularly from the Caribbean, which is that's my major interest.
Yes, sir.
Now, as a former diplomat, I have had to deal with this issue of Barbadians who have been caught in the net in the United States and deported. And let me say this, what Mr. Trump is doing on a larger scale is more than other presidents. Every president that we could think of in recent times that we could record have been involved in deporting people, but not at the level that is taking place now in the last 2 months. And if you remember, the President of the United States said from early on he'll be a dictator for one day because he wants to get rid of all of these people who are really, what he would say, illegals. Now, there's a little history to this whole thing, because we should remember that we have been involved, we have seen this happen. When I had the honor to represent Barbados in New York as Consul General, I must tell you, I was never briefed about what we should be doing in the government's interest. I know why I was not briefed, but it was fortunate for me not to be briefed, because at the time I knew more about what was happening in the United States than the people who were determined not to embrace me as Consul General in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I knew more about what should be done because of my work in the Brooklyn and community and its environs. I went to the United States in 1966 to study, and I also was involved in the Barbadian and Caribbean community from that time as playing cricket and so on, being involved in schoolyard activity where a lot of Caribbean illegals were hanging out and so on. And when I had that 11 years of experience before I went into the consulate, and I found myself knowing what these people were going through. When I became Consul General then, a lot of those people who were illegals had my private line. I gave them my private line deliberately to call me when these on terrible things were happening.
Yes.
So I know a little bit about this whole question of illegal immigrant activity because I was deeply involved. And it is difficult for us. It is a critical thing. It's a very critical thing because, first of all, a lot of our people, not only Barbados, but other Caribbean countries, have found themselves in the United States looking for a better life. Some, to a certain extent, did not take that opportunity seriously and take advantage of the opportunity and went into crime. I have no difficulty with Caribbean people and Barbadian people being deported if they commit crime. That's an opportunity that they had and they should have taken it. Anyway, my concern is the impact that this decision from Washington is having not only with the people who are affected adversely, but also what happens to the countries when they come back. We've had a case in Barbados many years ago when a national who was deported from the United States came back here and committed murder. So you could have these situations where criminals can be sent back. I have no difficulty with their being sent back, but it is a sad state of affairs. Those Barbadians who are now in a position worried, not sleeping, don't know where to turn because they don't know if the immigration people are going to come for them. And they have legitimate concerns. They have legitimate concerns. You know, I reflect on what we call the great wave of Barbadian and other Caribbean people that I was doing some research on it with another colleague from Harvard. He's since passed on. And we were looking at the migration and what Caribbean women were doing, particularly Caribbean women were doing in those days. Going up to New York, getting a B1 visa, coming to the United States, and then seeking employment with householders in the upscale communities like Great Neck and so on, and seeking sponsorship.
Yes. When you say sponsorship, what do you mean?
That these people, if they get a job, they wanted the employer to sponsor them. So it was a mutually beneficial engagement. Barbadian women, particularly Barbadian women, came up, got jobs working as housekeepers, babysitters, what have you, for these wealthy people in upscale communities, on condition that they get sponsored for a green card so they can have a regular status.
Mm-hmm.
And they were paid low wages, very low wages.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, when they got sponsorship with that green card, they went out and became productive citizens.
Right.
Very productive citizens. You know, they brought up their children and their spouses, and I'm talking particularly about the Caribbean women. Their spouses, and were able to bring in those children, those spouses who got involved in productive pursuits. They helped build the United States of America for the time that they were there. They were teachers, bankers, insurance executives, tax consultants, you name it, across the board, working as welders. These Caribbean people who came up then showed the status that they got from their mothers and their wives were making contributions to the United States.
Yes.
And that was a very positive thing. Unfortunately now, we have a significantly large number. I don't know the exact number, but the President of the United States has been talking about deporting 12 million people who are there undocumented and illegal. I will say this now, that to deport 12 million Caribbean people and other people from Latin America and so on is a pipe dream. That's been talked about in the United States for all the years that have been associated since 1966 with this country. They were talking about deportation. And even though we must admit, as John Kennedy, before he was president, said, this is a nation of immigrants. Everybody except the Indians are immigrants in the United States of America, or descendants of immigrants. So I think it's very tough and difficult for people to now decide, well, you know, they must go back. Yes, as I said, the ones who are committing crimes, getting involved in drugs, as some have done, deport them. Deport them. They have not taken advantage of the opportunity. But those who went for other legitimate reasons, to go to school and try to get their status regularized and work, raise families, build houses, buy properties, pay taxes. I have empathy with those people who are still having to look over their shoulders.
To do that. But you know, it's interesting. I was listening as you were talking about those women who would come to the country and they would start to work, they call it days work, you know, and then they get their employer would sponsor them. So their intention is to be regularized. So there is that system that was put in place that the worker, the employer could sponsor them, and a lot of them were sponsored, and a lot of our families benefited. When those women got sponsored. So they went with that, as you said, they were seeking to better themselves. but they then became legal. And I think that is where the distinction you think is being made, because sometimes people are there and they have no intentions, they're not following the law at all. But a lot of those Caribbean women, I know that they were seeking sponsorship.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. They went to better themselves, and they made it. By and large, they made it. They became citizens of the United States, and their children, as I said before, made significant contributions in teaching at universities, in the banking industry, wherever. Those women were pioneer women, and that started around in a great wave, because we had a farm labor program and so on. But it started in a great wave from the research that I did. It started a great wave for women to migrate to the United States instead of going to Britain and so on. Indeed, as many Barbadians who went to Britain to study and became nurses eventually found themselves living in the United States because they were getting paid higher wages, higher salaries. Because nurses are still, as a matter of fact, nurses are still in demand in the United States of America. But unfortunately for this now, we have this program at ICE, and I can tell you from what I've been following recently, ICE itself, which has been underfunded, finds itself not being able to hold on to all of these people. Now, I'm not saying that we must take heart from them. I've been looking at what Caribbean governments are doing about, helping these people get themselves sorted out. But what can you do? If you went to an immigration consultant in New York, as some have done, and you're not there with a regularized status, then you learn that they will tell you the best thing is to get married, and get married to a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Because the process is different if you are married to a U.S. citizen than if rather than married to somebody who's a permanent resident.
Yeah.
If you're married to a U.S. citizen, you can get your status changed immediately. Immediately. You don't have to wait.
So there's a wait. Actually, we have some questions here, Mr. Griffith, and I thank you for that that opening and the research that you've done there, just to kind of bring the whole thing in context, because sometimes we forget, we forget the contribution of the Caribbean people to the development of the U.S. And I thank you for reminding us about that. Now, somebody asked today, what happens if my relative is apprehended by ICE? And let me just apologize. We had intended to have a legal representative on the show tonight, and we had some difficulty with that. But guess what? We were able to send these questions to some person with legal knowledge, and they have been able to give some answers. So we're going to discuss them along with Mr. Griffith. So if you have a relative and the relative is apprehended by ICE, the legal representative is saying he or she will be processed and held until they are ready to be returned to their respective country. If this is done, that individual will be prohibited from re-entering the U.S. for 10 years. I actually learned something here, Mr. Griffith, because I thought that they couldn't go back at all. If you're deported, you could never go back.
Well, that's something that I learned from talking to one of my colleagues in the United States. He's an immigration consultant, and he mentioned this thing about 10 years, that there was a time when once you were deported, you couldn't come back unless the Attorney General of the United States approved your return. And there are people I know who are still waiting, who were deported and still waiting, across the Caribbean to get back.
Even though they say for 10, you can apply after 10 years, but some people, wow.
It's a different. It's 10 years. How many people will be around for the next 10 years and know what they can do? what is the process after 10 years? We need to look at the steps that would have to be taken for somebody who is being deported and have to wait for 10 years.
Yes, yes. Another question here says, what is the process of having my sister who lives in New Jersey or whichever state adjust her status? So might be concerned about your relative who you know you have a relative there, and the relative is undocumented. She's been in the US for 10 years undocumented. What does she do? And the legal representative is saying, Mr. Griffith, the easiest way to adjust one's status, as you were saying, is by getting married to a US citizen. By doing so, you are eligible for a permanent visa immediately. You just said that due to the immigration category called immediate relative. Do you want to expound on that?
Well, yes. There was a time when you had to leave your country. Once you were married to somebody who had status like a citizen or permanent resident, you had to leave the country and go back to your place of birth and wait for a year to be processed. Now, it is the person who's married to a U.S. citizen doesn't have to leave the country.
Yes.
But how many people have that option? I think I'm concerned about the response to tell people get married to a U.S. citizen. There was a time that I know about, and I was involved in a lot of this. Getting people would pay $10,000, $3,000, $4,000. People were making a business. There were people who were prepared to marry you, but you had to pay them $3,000 or $4,000.
Yes, I know.
I tried that to help some people, and I was turned off by that kind of behavior.
Right.
Charging people to get sorted out that kind of way.
But some people feel that is the way. Actually, the lawyer saying an I-130 petition proving relation has to be prepared along with the other relating forms. It's the I-130A, I-485, and I-765 for the work permit, and an I-864 to prove that the person sponsoring the immigrant has enough financial resources. If not, then they will have to find a joint sponsor.
Well, let me respond to that. You see those forms that you just mentioned?
Yes.
All those numbers. Just give some thought to this. How many people would know how to access those forms? And I'm putting that there deliberately because essentially lawyers make a killing from this activity. They know which forms the people need. The ordinary person seeking to get their status changed or regularized would not know these forms. The lawyers who are practicing as immigration lawyers would know which form they need. I used to know. I was involved in helping people, fill out the forms and so on. And I knew the forms because I ran a congressional district which had 52% Caribbean people, and there's 650,000 people in that district. I was executive director. So we helped people to get their status sorted out. And they didn't have to pay any lawyer, didn't have to pay my office. There's been a talk about getting married to a green card holder. And we know how long that takes. The process that it takes to be married to a green card holder. I've always talked about green card. We always talk about green card, and I know people who have been walking around with green cards in their pockets for 10, 15, 20 years, and I used to insult them all the time. I say, what are you doing with that? You after 5 years, can become a U.S. citizen. Yeah. I don't believe in people who qualify for status walking around with a green card in their pocket.
And not do it. Well, that's why the next question is, why marry a U.S. citizen as opposed to a person with only a green card? Or can my sister or brother file an adjustment of status petition on my behalf? So the question is, can you adjust your status by your brother and sister filing? Or can you marry a green card holder? Will that work? And the legal representative is saying if you're being sponsored by a spouse or a relative, such as a brother or sister with a green card, it will take anywhere from 7 to 10 years, depending on the category. Unlike being married to a U.S. citizens, where a visa, green card is available immediately. That I'm learning something. Even if you work or overstayed or work without permission, the fact that you are being sponsored by a U.S. citizen dismisses all of that. So the whole thing is that it has to be a U.S. citizen. So
But
if you, yeah, mhm.
what I would say, but in some cases, you may not find a U.S. citizen who is willing to marry you. You know, but you may have a green card holder who is willing to marry you. So you take that chance because you are taking steps to regularize his status, no matter how long it takes. I've known of people in the Caribbean community who've been there with a green card 10, 15, 20 years and would not even want to change it because they're thinking it would dilute their status. I was mindful of that back in the 90s when I teamed up with two nice Jamaicans, and what we did is we did citizenship drives. Those people who had a green card that qualified, we did everything to help them become citizens. I was involved in a lot of that. We used to, rent school halls and so on. And a lot of them responded, and we got them to be citizens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I will tell this: there were not many Barbadians who responded, but Caribbean people were happy to have it done. And somehow, as I've heard before in town hall meetings, Barbadians want to be able to vote in Barbados rather than to vote in the United States. I can tell you one thing. When I ran that congressional district for Congressman Major Owens, and he came in from Washington on Thursdays, I met with him to tell him, well, Major, we have people who want to see you. The two questions he would ask me is, can they vote? Do they make contributions to my functions? Those are the two concerns that politicians would have. Can they vote? And unfortunately, a lot of Caribbean people never used to vote. I am satisfied that now more of them, I don't know the numbers right now because I'm not there anymore, but we had trouble getting Caribbean people to show an interest in voting in Washington. I always told them, make sure that you know that that's where the decisions that may affect Barbados and Jamaica, St. Lucia, you make sure that you try to do something in Washington. If you bear with me, I can tell you an experience I had when Bill Clinton went to the World Trade Organization and was able to get the special arrangement with Caribbean, Venezuelan Island banana producers who had a special arrangement that Clinton was the first body. Before he got down here in 1997, he got that special arrangement stopped because he was getting pressure from the banana producing states in Central America, like Nicaragua and so on. So the Caribbean countries who were growing bananas for cash crops and sending them to England by these boats, they were barred. They were barred. And I asked several questions because the foreign exchange they earned, and we have to look at this connection, the foreign exchange they earned, bought Barbadian goods, bought goods sold to them from Barbados. But when I went to Washington myself once to talk to the St. Lucia ambassador to say, tell me what went on. And I'm saying this to bring another point. He
Yes.
said, what? I said, what went on? He said, I had no help. Barbadians and other Caribbean people need to learn to face Washington and to lobby. Lobbying is an integral part of U.S. decision-making process.
So,
Okay.
so you're feeling that, and I'm living there. I know this, like Caribbean people, we live there and we don't get involved. And you were saying that
Exactly.
we don't get
I-
involved. They can become citizens and get involved.
because they were interested in going to Bear Mountain on the boat rides and so on. And when I go to Washington, I had to go to Washington quite a bit on Capitol Hill when I ran this congressional district. And I never saw a bus from Brooklyn with Caribbean people in Washington. You know what I saw? I saw buses from all over the country with white Americans trying to understand how their government works. That's something that we have never been involved in doing. And I was very upset by that. And when the St. Lucia ambassador told me, Mr. Griffith, I had no help. We could not lobby. We did not have anybody to write a letter on our behalf. And I think that there's a lesson in this for all of us who are Caribbean governments and so on, to get into a relationship with the people in Washington who are in Capitol Hill, the Democrats, senators, and the congressmen, because there's an organization called the Congressional Black Caucus. And I think that the one good thing I see happening is that we are trying to cultivate a relationship with them now. We should have had that done ever since.
And kind of consolidate that power and all of us with all the
build a relationship with the Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah. Well, there's a question. There's a question here on the screen, and our time is almost almost gone. But I want to read some of these questions, and I tell you, Mr. Griffith is going to be back, because I think that what we're doing, Mr. Griffith, is so important, and I appreciate you being on tonight. Because there are lots of people who are very concerned, and they've reached out to me. There's a question here. My uncle in New York has a conditional green card. What does that mean? And our legal counsel responded, a conditional green card or an alien registration card is given to an immigrant who has submitted an application and is being processed for their adjustment of status. Since they submitted their application for adjustment of status within 2 years of getting married, they will be given a 2-year green card. 90 days before the second year anniversary, they will be required to submit Form I-765 to remove the conditions of the 2-year conditional green card. After an application to remove the condition is approved, the immigrant will then be given their permanent 10-year green card. That's a whole lot. You can take a screenshot of it. Take a screenshot. I know that someone is saying that the forms are available at the immigration office, etc., U.S. Immigration Office. But I know that the whole process is an expensive one. And usually you need to get a lawyer to go through all of this with you. But it's important for you to understand the steps, and you can share with your family members. What happens if I have my green card and I did not take the necessary steps to become a citizen? Can I be deported? Be a citizen? Can I be deported by ICE? No. Once you have a green card and you don't have any criminal records, that individual wouldn't have anything to worry about. As a safety measure, they should carry their green card at all times. Right? Carry your green card at all times. It seems as though Mr. Griffith dropped out. We're having internet troubles all throughout the country. Dave, let's read a couple more, and then I will have to move to the next segment, and we're going to bring Mr. Griffith back another time. As the old American Express commercial used to say, always carry your card with you. Don't leave home without it. So make sure you're traveling with your green card everywhere that you go. And another question. My brother who lives in Texas is undocumented. Can he get a work permit? No. The only way anyone in most cases can be issued a work permit is by submitting an application for adjustment of status. Dave, let's play the next couple quickly. And no one can apply for a work permit without an application for adjustment of status with the department, whatever that abbreviation is, the U.S. something department. This is coming from the legal advisor. I don't know the abbreviation, what it means. Okay, so all of this, you can take screenshots on behalf of your relative. I think it's so important that Dave, do we have, once Mr. Griffith is going to give his final word, but Dave, do you have any more? No more. Okay. So folks, I am sorry we had to rush through this because we had the internet issue, but we will have Mr. Griffith to be will be back with us, and as you can tell, he's got a lot of history on the of Caribbean nationals in the U.S. and how you can mobilize yourselves. I love it so much. Mr. Griffith, what's your final word to our viewers tonight?
I would encourage Caribbean people, those who are listening, those who are not, to tell your friends, to appreciate one thing that will not happen. The 12 million or so people that the President of the United States want to target to deport will not happen. If you look at the difficulties that they're having now, the impact that it is having in the United States, where a lot of the farm workers are refusing to go to work because of the fear of being picked up. Construction workers from across the border in Mexico are not going to work in Florida as they usually do for fear of being picked up. Mm-hmm. That will have a desultory impact on the United States economy. You can't deport 12 million people and feel that the economy will be okay. It will not be. And I would encourage people to move as rapidly as possible and try to get their status regularized. Don't listen to your cousin or your grandmother or your uncle who have no understanding of the process. Try and get advice from people who matter, who understand the process, who understand the forms, and so on. And don't go up there and beg you to the United States and feel that you can just succeed without doing any work. You can just succeed without going to school. You're going to succeed by fooling around. If you want, the United States offers tremendous opportunities. One thing you can know as an immigrant, that you cannot run for president. That's clear in the Constitution. But you can take advantage of whatever opportunities there are, whether it's school, whether it's work, what have you. And also build relationships in the community. Here was like CLYDE Griffith, Barbadian. I was chosen to run a congressional district of 650,000 people. For 2 years, I ran that district with Congressman Major Owens. And I was proud of it. I was proud of it because I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. So I want Barbadians to be serious if they could find somewhere of getting their status regularized. Okay?
Yes.
But I'm sorry that I can't be there to do as much as I used to do, but I'm prepared to give advice wherever I can.
Yes,
or bring people who can help.
And we're so happy and grateful that you could choose this platform to do so. I know that a lot of people are taking screenshots and they are very happy for the information. And we're definitely going to have you again, sir, on the Marcia Week show. So, guys, this has been what we call dumplings from the diaspora. Mr. Clyde Griffith spent a long time in the diaspora as consul general. He was a senator here in Barbados, a minister. Listen, I mean, this man is packed with knowledge, and we are honored, really, really honored to have you on tonight, Mr. Clyde Griffith. Thank you so very much.
And thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Glenn Murray for recommending me.
Yes, great, and we're going to see you again, most definitely. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night, sir. That was really, really wonderful. And let me tell you, Mr. Clyde Griffith, I can't say the full age, but he's up there like Mr. Murray. And you see how sharp he is? I told him today, I want to be like him when he grows up, when I grow up. Well, we are going to jump from dumplings from the diaspora. We're going to jump right into our next segment. And in our next segment, we are going to talk about the DLP. We're going to talk about what has happened. We're celebrating Mr. Thorne. Mr. Thorne has it's 1 year now. This is the first year anniversary as leader of the opposition and also as political leader of the Democratic Labour Party. It's about a year now. I'm sure it's a year as opposition leader, and it's coming up to a year as political leader. And so we have Senator Andre Worrell, who is the president of the Democratic Labour Party. And we also have Mr. Pedro Shepherd, who is the general secretary. And they are going to be joining us. And so tonight, guys, I want you to be ready with questions. We talked earlier about ensuring that Barbados does not become a one-party state. We do not want Barbados to be like St. Vincent, where there's a leader in St. Vincent now for 20-something years. We want to have strong parties. And we are going to, well, as the citizens, we should demand that of our political parties. And so I want to take this opportunity to welcome Senator Andre Worrell and Mr. Pedro Welch. And they're together because I know... I'm actually happy you're all together because one might not have had internet and the other one have internet. So I am very, very happy that you are at least together and we can have our discussion together. Welcome to the Marcia Week show.
Hi, good night, Marcia. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes, and I want to say a special welcome to Mr. Pedro Shepherd, because this is his first time, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Yes. Wonderful. And can I tell you something? I have to be myself. These are two wonderful gentlemen. I have to say that. I remember seeing them. The first time I met them was at the annual general meeting when there was repeat, please.
Annual conference.
The annual conference, and there were some issues happening there, and and we remember that too well. That was a tough time for the DLP. Thank God they've gone past that. And I went down there to report, and I met these two men, and they were just so calm and peaceful. And I was looking at them like, are they okay? Or there's a big smile on their faces, and just so approachable, honestly, and serving. And I love that. I personally like that, and I consider them. I don't know more than what I've seen of them there, but I just personally want to say that on air that I was really impressed at how calm you all were. I don't know if I could have been that calm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia.
Yes. But we've come a long way, Mr. Thorne. I know, Andre. At the end, we're going to talk about the cybercrime bill and the hospital. But because of time, I want to just, since Pedro is here, we want to get that part done as well. Okay,
No
but
problem.
it's a year, Mr. President, and almost a year that Mr. Thorne is political leader. And I wanted to find out what is happening in the party. Has Mr. Thorne being in the party, has it been of benefit to the party? And the reason I'm asking, it seems like I'm asking the question and I'm saying a whole lot, but I want to put it in context, Mr. Shepherd, because I was speaking to somebody the other day and they said to me, Marcia, Mr. Thorne went to the DLP and mash up the DLP. Okay, so I want, in that context, I want you to, because I want to be real with you, because that is some of the word on the street. So let's start with the president. What has happened since Mr. Thorne is there? Has he mashed up the DLP?
Okay, I thought you were going to start with Pedro saying this is his first thing on the show.
Okay, okay. Oh, Pedro, he wants to pass it on to you. Pedro, let's go with you. Yeah.
I think since Mr. Thorne came to the Democratic Labour Party, though, the Democratic Labour Party has been given a presence in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone to say that Mr. Thorne came and mashed up the DLP would not be correct.
Okay.
The DLP was having some challenges long before Mr. Thorne came. Let's accept that. After Mr. Thorne came, constitutionally, started a particular position he was entitled to, and that might have ruffled some aspirants' feathers. But that aside, I believe that the Democratic Labour Party over the last 8 months or so has made tremendous strides in rekindling some interest among its membership and across Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
We have heard Mr. Thorne in the Parliament of Barbados putting the case for the Democratic Labour Party and for the people of Barbados. And I think that it is ludicrous for anybody to say that Mr. Thorne's presence in the Democratic Labour Party has caused it to use the term mash up, to be mashed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are saying a much stronger Democratic Labour Party. We are saying a Democratic Labour Party that has been able 3 weeks ago to name 15 candidates for the next general election.
Okay.
We have a government of 29. Mm-hmm. Nobody in Barbados knows who will be the candidates for the Barbados Labour Party, but mm-hmm. they're sure that the Democratic Labour Party has 15. So I will say to the public of Barbados that the Democratic Labour Party is ahead of the governing party at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're saying you're ahead because you have named 15 candidates. This is since Mr. Thorne. So we're looking at him, what he's done since, his presence has done since he became political leader. You said that he has given the DLP a stronger presence in Barbados. As the president, Senator Worrell, would you agree with the General Secretary that Mr. Thorne has benefited the party, or are you going to agree with some of the people that say Mr. Thorne mashed up the party?
Well, I will definitely not agree with the ones that said that he mashed up the party, because I think that Mr. Thorne's presence in the Democratic Labour Party, as Pedro said, has brought a sense of stability into the party, and it has propelled the prominence of the party, because before we were almost like a party with no seat in government. Now we have the opposition, the seat in the lower house, the leader of the opposition, and we have the two senators. I am one, and Senator Ryan Walters. So before, we could not get on CBC, even though they don't give us that much opportunity now either. But before, we had no claim to put in a press release and expecting it to go on CBC. Now that is being done and carried in the media. And also politically, with the energy of Mr. Thorne and his purpose, the party has become more directed and focused and championing the national issues. You've heard him speak out on the issues with regard to the Fisher Folk, the crime issues as well. We're still here at George Street because we had meetings here at George Street this evening. I had a meeting with our Commissioner of Crime. That's why I responded to your message so late, because we were in that meeting. So these are the things that we are doing. And also you will hear the responses on the economic issues, the cost of living. Ryan championed the whole idea to get the gas prices to come down at the pump. We would love for them to bring them down again. All of those things has come about as a result of Mr. Thorne's presence within the party, elevating its prominence to being the opposition party and not just what you would call it, a pressure group. So more than
I see.
Right.
So, and you think that is the general sentiment that is happening. Somebody says, I'm reading here that there's a failure to consistently show joint action between his political leadership and that of the administration, that the party's institutions and systems are being rebuilt. I think what this person is trying to say is that to them, they don't see the structures and the systems being rebuilt. And I think what they're talking about is, as you were saying, you were like a pressure group. Some people don't know what you're doing to rebuild the party. So what is the party? What's the program? What do you have in place, to rebuild the party?
Well, I can go first. And now, obviously, we would have lost considerable ground after Mr. Thorne joined in February last year. Then we had that period of chaos which erupted from April and was finally settled at the conference in August. So we would have lost that ground. And really and truly, because don't forget that we discussed on this show what would have happened when the other group left. They left with computer equipment, databases. Obviously, we would have lost some members. And to be in a position now where we have been able to reorganize our branches, that we were able to select 15 candidates, shows that the party is rebuilding and moving forward. And we are in the process of looking at additional candidates as well. Last week, we had 2 branch meetings simultaneously. You had the St. Philip North meeting, and then you had St. James South, which Mr. Thorne addressed that meeting. This weekend coming up, you have the St. Michael Central meeting. So the point is that the branch is now the party is now getting back to having consistent and regular branch meetings. So you have St. Michael Central this weekend at Combermere School. 4:30. 3 speakers. Myself, Senator Walters, and Felicia Dujon, and also the political leader will be there as well. And then the following weekend in St. Michael Southeast, Pedro's branch will be having
they'll be having a town hall meeting on crime on the 23rd at Parkinson Secondary School.
I must excuse me, Marcia, I still have this cough.
I know there's that thing that is going. So, Mr. Shepherd, you would say that the branches are up and running, because again, I'm asking you because of what questions and concerns that I've heard from people. They're saying you're doing a lot of things publicly and all of that, but that there's nothing that is truly happening on the ground in terms of branches and structures and systems in place. What would you this is when it just came out, but this picture here. Go ahead, Mr.
Honestly, Marcia, the Democratic Labour Party experienced a traumatic defeat in 2018. And as a result of the defeat in 2018, a number of persons just moved away from the Democratic Labour Party most of the ministers and the cabinet, the cabinet members, senior members of the party moved away from the party. So the rebuilding of the party actually had to be started way back in 2018, moving into 22. So that when we were into the 22 general election, we were still in a rebuilding phase.
Yes.
Again, compared to the 22 general election, we suffered another 30 love, which again put the party in a position where it had to do some introspection, where we had to start looking inward at what could be the causes for two successive 30 loves and so on. So there were challenges. A lot of the branches, I guess members were disillusioned and so on, and were not meeting prior to 2024 when
Yes.
Mr. Thorne came over. So the period just before Mr. Thorne came, the Democratic Party was still going through some problems. After Mr. Thorne came, we were looking at rebuilding. We had some setbacks in terms of his membership and so on. And that came to a head in August 2024. Once we were able in 2024 August to do what was necessary within this party to start a fresh process of rebuilding, and unfortunately we had to start that without computer equipment, without database, without a number of things that were required for the party to run. I am happy to say today that minus the computer equipment and the database and so on that was stolen, the cameras and so on, we are now in a position where we have restored our database for all 30 branches.
Okay.
Out of the 30 branches, we have about 25, 27 of them that are actually functioning. There are only about 3 of them, I think, that we are now working to get back on track. So the Democratic Party has done tremendous work over the last 8 months in rebuilding itself. And I'm saying to you, Marcia, and to the country, that the Democratic Labour Party is ready. We face the criticism as we go into the public sphere because people are not aware as to what is really happening within the Democratic Labour Party. We have put all of those things behind us since August, and we are moving together under the leadership of Senator Andrea Worrell as president and the Honorable Ralph Thorne as political leader to take this Democratic Labour Party forward. 2 weeks ago, you would have noticed we started a campaign with the Young Democrats having a meeting in St. Michael's Central. And this is the beginning of what the public can expect from the Democratic Labour Party over the next few months. A series of public meetings. We're also going into our 70th year, starting April 27th this year. And once we get to
70
that
years?
point,
You mean
we're
the
going to
party
schedule
the party is
some
celebrating 70 years?
70 years.
Mm. Okay.
And
Okay.
we have a story to tell. So we are going over the next year up to April 2026. We are going to be sharing with the public of Barbados, I guess it will be with the world, the history of the Democratic Labour Party and the contribution that the Democratic Labour Party has made to Barbados and to the lives of Barbadians, not only at home, but Barbadians all over the world. And we are going to focus heavily on our policies and our programs in education, our policies and our programs in housing, our policies and programs in health. Those are 3 major areas that the Democratic Party will be focusing on over the next year or so.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. But and we're doing this. One of the reasons that we are doing this as on the Marcia Week show is because we've been talking about not wanting to have a one-party state, Senator Worrell. And so we've had the new there's a new political party, the CCP, that they came on a couple weeks ago, or last week. They were on here because we want to really encourage that political participation by everybody in Barbados, because we do not want a one party government. But someone says to me here that they believe that Mr. Thorne has failed to do more to change public perception that the DLP and that the DLP remains deeply and bitterly divided. Oh, that he has done little to change the perception. that the DLP is deeply divided. Is it a perception that the DLP is deeply divided, or is the DLP still deeply divided?
It is a perception, Marcia, and a perception that we are going to dispel shortly. As I said, we have a number of programs that we are going to be having shortly, and the public of Barbados is going to be impressed when they see the Democratic Labour Party on the move over the next few months.
Marcia would also want to say that you would have that narrative definitely comes because all of what the Democratic Labour Party has gone through over the last year did not happen in a vacuum. And as Mr. Thorne would have said, there were tentacles from Robert Street operating in George Street, trying to disturb the party. Now, I think that we would have done enough to sort of sever some of those tentacles, but obviously we can't stop them from speaking in the public environment. And you hear that narrative about the party being dysfunctional, normally coming from persons who, because it is the hope of the Barbados Labour Party, the only way that they can win another government is if they give people the impression in Barbados that the Democratic Labour Party is not ready for governance. And that is why the media so quickly rush to publish things about the Democratic Labour Party, but they refuse to focus on what is going on within the Barbados Labour Party. Case in point, you have the Barbados Labour Party that may very well 29 seats, and maybe half of those persons will not be returning, not because they don't want to run again, but because for whatever reason they're being forced out. You have the situation in St. James North. We don't know if it is going to be a by-election soon, or if the gentleman would have the opportunity to serve out his 5 years. You have the situation in St. Philip North, where they're looking to poach the rumors have it that they're looking to poach someone from the Democratic Labour Party to replace a sitting Barbados Labour Party MP. All of this shows that there are just as much issues within the Barbados Labour Party. And look at it now within the country. When the media is so heavily focused on the DLP and what we would have gone through last year, we are not paying attention to the crime situation, which is embarrassing, that the ZR drivers are now saying that they may make 4:30 and 5 o'clock their last trips because of crime. The gas station owners are saying that they would have to revisit their opening hours. Right now, last Saturday I passed by a gas station which I was hoping to go into at 10:20 on a Saturday night on Bay Street, and it was already closed at a time when it should have been open, because that's the night when you're normally out partying till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Why is a gas station closed at 10 o'clock? And it is closed at that time because of the crime situation and the fact that the spending in the economy is down as well. And these are the things that the Barbados Labour Party has been instrumental in using the issues within the Democratic Labour Party as a distraction from their inefficiency and incompetence as a government. But I will say to everybody, the Democratic Labour Party, we are rebuilding. We're not just rebuilding in terms of the organs of the party, but even as I speak right now, we're doing some renovations on the office upstairs to make more than one office space available so that we can have multiple meetings here at George Street. Because we had a situation where the Women's League, they want to meet on the same date that the Executive and General Council would likely meet. So we're making that space available so that if they choose to have their meetings downstairs, we can go upstairs and have that space available. Right now we are in the office because it is the quietest place at George Street right now, because there's a group using George Street until 11, so the music is actually blaring on the outside. So we had to come into the office to use in here as opposed to using the conference room. So we're actually making the facilities available to Barbadians who want to use it at a very affordable rate as well. A number of persons will still come here to have weddings. We're hoping that we get persons coming in for crop over so that we can do our part in terms of promoting arts and culture. And other activities within Barbados as well. So we are rebuilding and we are doing what is necessary as a political party to do that outreach. All of our candidates which have been named are out in the constituency canvassing, meeting people and hearing their needs, and that's the most important thing.
But
So,
as you mentioned about candidates, and this is a pet peeve of mine, really,
mhm.
that you have these candidates that seem excited and so on, and I'm happy that they're out canvassing. But we are also, I see there are lots of young people, which is good. I love young people, or people who are running for the first time, etc. My concern is, are you training these people? Do they know what this is all about? Do they understand what their objectives are? You understand what I mean? So yes, you're gonna be an MP and you have 15 MP. Are you involved in training them, or even the ones that were MPs before? Do you have any kind of training going on with these younger MPs, or those that don't have it as much experience?
Yes, we have had recently, I think 2 Saturdays ago, we've had training for our candidates. We've had sessions at the Leader of the Opposition Office for spokespersons, and this is going to be an ongoing program where we're going to be training our candidates. We have also assigned mentors, former parliamentarians and so on, to our younger candidates. We have persons assigned, for example, to first-timers, to give them, some guidance as to what to expect leading into an election, on election day, and so on. We have had the legal persons speaking to our spokespersons on defamation. The Democratic Labour Party is working, and I want to.
So you're promising us that you are training the new these new persons that are
have a highly trained cadre of persons facing the electorate whenever the Prime Minister calls the election.
Right.
Okay. So
the training also, because it's important for people who are the face of the party to know the history and the philosophy of the party. So all of that is involved in the training. And of course, we would bring out our elders to share that information, because politics is a lived experience. So that you need to know who are some of the persons who have gone before and how they contributed and developed the party and developed Barbados nationally as well. And all the legislation that the Democratic Labour Party would have put forward. I see that you have our fact sheet, which would show the work from the 2008 to 2018 administration. But our history also goes way beyond that, from 1961 coming forward. So all of these are things that we will share with our members and also share with the public as well, because we will expand those sessions to members of the public.
I'm glad you said about sharing with the public, because one of my biggest pet peeve with the Democratic Labour Party is your communication. Changing that perception, because you're telling me all of these things. I mean, until I came up there to do, although, I'm still being persecuted because I came up there that day, which I don't regret, because I got to meet you two wonderful men. It wasn't somebody telling me about you. And I mean that. I love the calmness that you bring, the sincerity. I saw you both there serving, servant leadership, and I like that. And but a lot of people, they don't know what you are doing, and I and that's a big criticism I have of the DLP, me personally. What are you doing to change that?
That has always been the weakness of the Democratic Labour Party. We have been punished severely for that in 2018, because we were doing the work as a government in 2018, but we failed to communicate the work that we were doing with the country. And so the country got rid of us because of lack of communication. And we are not going to allow that to prevent us this time from regaining the government of Barbados. And so we are currently working with some public relations professionals to
Okay, because
ensure
somebody's
that
asking. Okay, so you're working with a public relation professional?
a few of them, 2 or 3 of them, to ensure that the party's public relations is well coordinated, well planned, the messages are well put together, the theme of the party going into the general election
Okay.
is central to the needs of the country. We are going, the time ahead for the Democratic Labour Party is exciting, and I am very enthusiastic going forward in saying that the Democratic Labour Party going into the next general election will not be the same Democratic Labour Party that went into the 22 or the 2018 election. It's going to be a more coordinated, united, resourceful, trained, equipped, educated. All of those things we are going to be, because we want to ensure that the public of Barbados has a choice in changing from this current administration. And that is what we hear as we go into the field. We want a change, but are you ready for the change? I'm saying tonight that the Democratic Labour Party is ready to take over the reins of government in this country.
Okay. All right. So now somebody's asking, how do you plan to capture the very entertained youth? And before you answer that, I want to tell people that the phone lines are open. Well, the phone line at the moment, I trying to sound big, but it's one line. 236-7000, 1246-236 7000. Please give us a call. And whether you have a question for the wonderful men here tonight representing the DLP, we're celebrating the first year of Mr. Thorne crossing over, becoming political leader, and also being a leader of the opposition. Okay. Do you have any questions for the DLP, or you have something, a question you want to ask on any other area, or something that's happening to you and you want to share it with us? Just know we want to hear from you. Okay, so go ahead and give us a call. But let's answer that question. How do you plan to capture the very entertained youth?
I think, in my opinion, the best way to go about it is to be honest and upfront with the young people. And as you canvass the communities and you speak to the young people, a lot of them, they have no hope because of the way the current environment is going. But Barbadians want things to do. They want to be productive. They want to be engaged. And that is how we intend to go about it. And they also have this lack of trust with politicians. As a party, we need to spend some time in terms of crafting the appropriate message, not just the message, because you don't just want words, but you also want the works that go along with it as well, to show people that you can trust politicians, that you can work with politicians, that we in the Democratic Labour Party, we are here to work with you to get you to where you want to be in life. A lot of young people in Barbados, they are not satisfied with the trajectory of which this government is going. They may have bought them out in the last election, but I don't know that that will necessarily work this time around, because after having it done to you twice, and then as soon as you got in, you're seeing it now in the US in a big way.
But hold a minute though, hold a minute, Senator. You said that they might not want to be bought out. Here is somebody asking, as a 20-year-old, why I should vote for you all. A lot of young people, right now they need things, gentlemen. And the person, somebody who comes and give them $100 or $200, you're saying you don't think that that's going to work in this time?
No, I think we have to educate our people, not only our young people, but our people beyond money. Whilst money may be critical, it lasts you for a short time. I believe that we have to educate our people. We have to let our people know that there is more to life than a $50 or $100 bill wrapped up in a t-shirt or in a cup, carrying the emblem of some political party.
Or
Once your vote is bought on election day or just before election day, the member of parliament really has no
negotiation completed.
It's completed, and he has no care really for you. I'm saying to our young people that the Democratic Labour Party is going to make every effort to rebuild our education system to ensure that there are opportunities available for young people. We are going to do everything possible to ensure that our people live healthy lives, and that's why earlier I spoke of our contribution in education, our contribution in health. We're also going to ensure that there are meaningful jobs available. I am hearing this current government speaking a lot about exporting our skills. We are going to develop persons in Barbados to work in Barbados. If we have access, then yes. But we do not wish for young people to be thinking how they're thinking now, that there are no opportunities in Barbados for them. Clearing gullies is not good enough. Reading and walking beside the road is not good enough, because our education system is, let's say the best in the region. I may even try to say the best in the world. And if we can only provide those types of jobs for our people after sending them to school, something is wrong. So we need to be able to find jobs in this country that our people can stay in Barbados and live well. We
So
also
that's
need
what you're offering to the young people, that you will be able to provide jobs. Because I'm listening and I'm trying to, okay, so you're talking to a 22-year-old
so
saying,
we're going to provide
why should I
education
vote for
and
you?
creation.
Repeat, please.
We're going to provide proper education, and we're going to provide job creation for our people. We're going to ensure that, as I said, jobs are available in Barbados. Why should we be importing nurses in Barbados, for example, when we have so many people going to the Barbados Community College, studying nursing, and people wanting work? I mean, that we can find work in Barbados for our people. We just have to put the Democratic Labour Party back in office, because it is the Democratic Labour Party that has the ideas, that has the policies, and has the programs to move Barbados forward. The 22-year-old who is asking the question can ask himself, if over the last, or ask himself what has been done over the last 7 years to improve education, to improve health, to improve transport, to improve housing, to
make your life easier,
to reduce cost of living in this country. Nothing. When the Democratic Party was in office between 2008 and 2018, we saw thousands of housing solutions in this country. We saw nursery education picking up in this country, expand this country. We saw 6 farms moving to the newer secondary schools in this country, providing opportunities for our young people. We saw healthcare in this country becoming one of envy for the other Caribbean islands. All of these things we are now seeing deteriorating to the back to the 2023, 2003, 2007 period. We have gone back. I'm saying to you that a Democratic Labour Party is going to ensure that our children are taken care of in terms of proper education and schooling. Once they leave school, there will be jobs available for them in Barbados, or training in Barbados. We're going to ensure that the health system is such that we spend little money on having to send our citizens abroad for medical care. We are currently working at George Street and Hink Street on policies for our manifesto to ensure that it is exciting, that the young people are taken care of, the elderly are taken care of, and the middle-aged persons are taken care of. We are going to look out for everybody. It's not going to be about family or friends after the general election. Once the Democratic Party is given the opportunity to become the government of the day.
Now, a slightly different question here. This is, and I want to be as honest, because I don't see anybody calling, so I'll ask the questions that that have been asked by to me. So I speaking to a grandma, and she said to me, "I'm I'm a DLP, you know, but you know, I don't trust Mr. Thorne. I feel that Mr. Thorne was sent by Mia Motley to destroy the party. I believe I believe he's a plant. What you say to that? You've been with the party for how many years, Senator Worrell?
From 2007.
2007.
An actual member, but been following the party all of my life.
And I've been around from 1989, so I've been around even longer.
Even longer. So what do you all say to that? That Mr. Thorne is a plant, by the PLP plant.
Mr. Thorne is a genuine person. I was about to say a genuine politician, but he's a genuine person. I would not believe that Mr. Thorne was sent or could be sent by anybody to the Democratic Labour Party. Mr. Thorne's decision to join the Democratic Labour Party was a long thought through decision. I can tell you that because I know we have had discussions, and I know that Mr. Thorne's entry into the Democratic Labour Party was nothing rushed. It took discussions over a year before Mr. Thorne finally decided that he is going to leave the Barbados Labour Party, where he was uncomfortable, and I would say unproductive, to come over to the Democratic Labour Party to assist the Democratic Labour Party in having that voice that is required to create what people in Barbados wanted, and that is an opposition. We now have an opposition to the government, and even though we have an opposition that these people are asking for, they're still trying to find reasons why they should not be the opposition. And I am trying to understand why people are not happy to see that there is an opposition in Barbados.
I'm asking the same question.
What is the problem?
What is the problem, really? Go ahead, Mr.
If I can also give my take on it as well. I think that Mr. Thorne has a vision, because this process has not been easy for him either. Because especially last year when you were going through that turmoil, he was not the cause of the problem, but he was more or less pulled down and made it to seem as though he was the problem. But he tried to stay out of it and stay above it. But when the time was there to help, remember when both Pedro and I were called into the police station? I just made a call to him and I told him what had happened. And immediately he said, come to my office, and took up the charge from then, a Saturday. So I think that anyone that says that he's a plant, I don't think that anybody would plant themselves in a situation like this to go through so much public ridicule. And then you can also hear the passion and conviction in his voice when he speaks to the issues. And he speaks as a father, as someone who has children who has to grow up in this country. And that is what Barbados needs right now. And to be impressed by his vision and how deeply he feels about what is going on. Because we are not living in a good time in Barbados. So there's so much wrong going on that needs exposing. And in time to come, it will be exposed. So when you listen to his passion and his conviction, there's no way that he can be a plant. He has to genuinely believe in what it is that he's doing.
Yes, yeah. You know, for me, I remember that being said also of Mr. Atherley when he crossed, and you know, and what I said to someone, we think that Mia Motley is so powerful and so great that we can't. Nobody could get up of their own will and make a decision in this country. Anytime somebody makes a decision, it has been said that Mia Motley caused them to make the decision, because we see her as some god and she's so bright and she's so brilliant that Atherley could not have come up with the idea on his own, and Mr. Thorne couldn't. It has to be Mia Mottley, and that's that's where we. I was thinking, Mr. Shepherd, that's where we're making the mistake as a nation, where we are somehow feeling that only certain people can lead and only certain people can think and only certain people can make decisions, bold decisions, and I was one of those that I believe people when they said Atherley was sent. And it wasn't until close to when the election that I realized that I was misled. I was deceived in thinking that. And I supported Mr. Atherley. Because I realized I didn't believe it, and I am always moved when I hear Mr. Thorne speaks, Mr. Shepherd, in the in the parliament. But there's a call coming in. Let me see if we can capture this call here tonight.
Good night. Going to get
Yes.
on the show.
Yes. Good night. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Can you hear Pedro and Mr. Shepherd?
It is a little low, but we're trying our best to listen.
You're trying your best to listen. Okay, let me see.
Okay. Is that any better?
Any better?
Adjusted my volume.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Go right ahead. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, gentlemen, for being on the show, and it's good to see you both. As I listen, I don't have any issues with what has been said so far, but what I would like to hear from you is, what are your plans regarding a change in the political structure? Because, I mean, we don't want the same old as what we had before, just a new party elected to serve and continue in a similar manner, just improving on what existed. What we need is change. The whole structure needs to be changed. Are there any plans to make any changes in that regard, as far as the whole political structure? And by that I mean, I'm talking about tax structures, making opportunities for small business people generally, for Barbadians to have a better quality of life. And I mean, not just by words, but by having programs which would allow for that to happen. I'll pause for your response.
Well, definitely I can say that because in looking around what is happening in Barbados now, exactly what you're speaking about is what is needed to get Barbados out of this crisis. In that we have a lot of families who are in need. They need to be able, regardless, and I saw someone posted something about COVID. We also need to have change our mindset about, let me give this example in terms of COVID, who is deserving of welfare in Barbados and who is deserving of housing assistance. Because you can no longer look at the fact that someone may be living in a wall house or an upstairs and downstairs house and go to do the assessment as the welfare officer and say, well, because of where you're living, you don't qualify. Because we must recognize that as a result of COVID, you have situations where breadwinners were taken away from their families in their prime. And you may have a situation where the persons who are left may be a housewife who, at the age at which they may not be able to go out there to get a job. So these are now people who have now fallen below the line where they need assistance, but because they were able to be in a position to build a decent house, they still need assistance. So we have to revisit all of those things. And our children, we have far too many children who are leaving school and are not productively engaged in activities and who would have squandered their opportunity in school. We need to open up opportunities where they can get back into academics. We need to utilize programs such as what you call it in terms of CBQs and stuff like that. Those things
I
more.
think the caller has a last comment, caller, so that somebody else can call. Go right ahead. Caller?
that is sounding a bit more like adjustments of the same and of that existed. Those are not structural, fundamental changes that I'm seeking answers to. What I'll do is I hope that you'll be able to come back onto the program again. What I'll do is I'll give you an opportunity to come back with structured answers with regards to changes rather than patches and plastering for what is currently existing. Because what is currently taking place, there were no words to describe how bad it is. It's really bad.
Yeah.
We need things. Changes are needed, big changes.
Yes,
Okay?
thank you, caller. Thank you, caller, and I will give them the opportunity to respond. Thank you so much. Yes.
Right, and definitely I can understand what the caller is saying, that you will definitely need a lot of structural changes in the way, changes in the whole political environment as well. I, for one, believe that Parliament could function more efficiently and effectively, that having 20 or 39 persons in a cabinet does not really give you a proper functioning Parliament. And you need to have to really drill down to see where the money is being spent and where the inefficiencies are, and being able to rotate those things, and for the average Barbadian to have more access and a say in some of these things. Those are the things that are needed. And I'm generally trying to get the point over that we need to have a complete mindset as to how we see and envision services which are offered by the government. In terms of healthcare, as a spokesperson of health, I'm of the view that when you go to a polyclinic or the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, it must not be seen as though you're begging for a service. But as a citizen, the service is there for you as a right. And in schools, that there's certain standard that we expect to be maintained for every single school, so that you don't have a situation where it's only the children at the private schools who are excelling at common entrance and other programs. Because you have a system in Barbados now where more and more people are taking their children out of the government schools and putting them into private schools because they believe that they get a better education. So we need
to Senator, we have there's someone on the call. Good night, caller.
Good night. How are you, Miss Weeks?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for calling. Let me just make sure that we can hear that our guests can you hear the caller?
Yes, we are hearing.
Yes, go right ahead, caller. Thank you.
Hi, I'm calling to discuss a recent event that occurred when I went to purchase an electrical appliance at court. It was a dryer, to be specific. And I sat with the store clerk and she wrote up the paperwork. She told me I needed to get the warranty for sure. And I said, yeah, I agree that that's a nice option to have should something break.
Yes.
However, when the appliance arrived and my husband goes to put it in place, he says to me, it doesn't have a power cord. And I said, what? What do you mean? He said, it doesn't have a power cord. I can't plug it in. There's nothing to plug it in. When I contacted court, they didn't tell me that I would have to purchase an installation kit from the warehouse. Now,
you mean an installation kit, even though you've purchased the appliance, but you needed why would I don't understand that.
Right. So my thought process was, well, why would you sell me an electrical appliance that doesn't have the power source to connect it so that I can even tell if it worked, if the warranty it was really essential? Because what you did was false advertising. You sold me a shell of an item because I have no way to plug it in to tell whether or not it is actually working. So you separated the power cord from the appliance so that I would have to pay to get you to install it. Now, why would I pay for you to install something that should come fully equipped and I have an electrician for a husband? Why would I need to do that? So what Quartz is doing is they're selling you an appliance where you are now forced to either use their installation service, for which there is a fee, or you pay for the item that actually came with the product separately. That is unconscionable. But what even is more alarming is the breakdown of the price of the item if you use their hire purchase program.
Okay.
Now the item itself is $2,468.08.
200 and how much? To how much?
$2,468.08.
Okay, that's the price of the washing machine, of the
dryer.
The dryer. It's a dryer.
The VAT alone is $500.27.
Wow.
The warranty is $390.64. The goods value is $3,358.99. The charge for the credit is $1,753.40. So a dryer that costs $2,468.08 to purchase it through Quartz credit system would be $5,112.39.
Yeah.
That is more than a 50% markup. That is ridiculous.
That's a lot, and in this economy and what's happening, I mean, Quartz is. I know the people at Quartz. I love Quartz, but the truth is that it's very difficult when you listen. I mean, it does, and it's not just Quartz, but it's the VAT as well. You listen to that VAT that is there. I see, Mr. Shepherd. Is there anything you want to say to this caller?
Sadly enough, Marcia, it is not only with the dryers. People who purchase complete equipment and so on, the same thing applies. I don't know why they're breaking down the products as they enter the country and then selling them in parts, I guess, to make maximum money. Unfortunately, it is the poor people that suffer because we cannot buy things cash. We have to take things on hire purchase. And as she said, in most cases, it is in excess of 50% that you are repaying, even to go to credit unions and banks to get loans to purchase cars and houses. Poor people in this country are suffering because they pay in excess of 50%. These are things that we as prospective politicians and prospective legislators and so on would have to look at, because it is unfair for persons to be purchasing things outside of Barbados for net skin to nothing and coming to Barbados and charging an arm and a leg for these products. And in most cases, a lot of these products too are inferior because down this side of the world, where we get the more inferior products. When you go to North America and so on, you get the sturdy stuff. And we have to move away from all of the importation of things. We have to, and we go back to education and skills and CVQs and so on, where we now have to be able to utilize our schools beyond 3 o'clock to train our young people coming out of schools certain skills that they can repair some of these implements and so on. So you don't have to be buying cars every day and buying fridges every day. Up to yesterday at World Canvassing, we were discussing this craziness every Christmas with people buying beds and fridges and stoves. And sometimes the stove that they're getting rid of is 2 years. And all it needs really is for some technician to come and seal up. The fuse is bad. The strainer needs clearing. Simple things, but because we are not preparing our young people for these enterprises, we are spending lots of foreign currency or I would say, waste a lot of foreign currency having to replace these things. And we have to move away from this country being so materialistic as well. Everything in this country seems, everybody wants something material. They want a car at 18, they want a house at 19. And we are paying the price for all of these things. But I'm saying to the young lady that she is not alone with the drive, because almost everything you buy in Barbados now, the cord is separated, the hard drive is separated, the whatever it is
But
separated from the
Mr. Shepherd, I understand, and everybody that's listening, I understand that this is what they're all doing. The question is, what are we going to do about it? We are the consumers, and I think that is why.
And these are things that, as Senator Ward is saying, the Fair Trading Commission needs to be made aware of these things, because it cannot be fair for people to be buying a product which came to Barbados in a box, but buying this same product now in 3 or 4 boxes. It cannot be fair.
Yeah. So
because
you're saying
the product.
so this caller could write the Fair Trading Commission. You're saying, Mr. Shepherd?
Yes, I'm saying that there should be something that they draw to the attention of the Fair Trading Commission.
Yes.
And the minister responsible.
Yeah, I'm going to I'm going to call courts myself to find out about this policy and why are they doing it, and to just for them to see the other side of it is very, very difficult. I'm listening to this. I mean, so you would have the product calling cost you. Go ahead, Senator.
The only thing additional that you should have to purchase would be if it is a transformer. Moving from the 110 to 220. That should be the only thing that you should have to purchase separately. But to actually purchase the actual power cord for the device where you can't operate without it, is
so
right. That's ridiculous.
Caller, was it that or it was something else?
No, it was actually the appliance itself. I understand the part about the transformer. What is unconscionable to me is that I could buy a plane ticket, I could go to New York, I could buy a dryer and fly back here and pay duties at customs and not pay what court is charging. And that is ridiculous to the everyday consumer. Barbadians don't have money like that. And it's the everyday person that I am fighting for.
Yes, call and I would say go all the way, to bring it to the Fair Trading Commission, because apparently people are writing in the comment section. A lot of people are going through this, and so and I myself am going to give courts a call in fairness to find out what this is all about. Thank you so much, caller.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Wow, she said she could buy a whole ticket, go and buy the stuff in Miami and everything, and it would still cost less than what she's paying for this one dryer. Wow.
The only problem would be somebody at the port would want to charge her an arm and a leg to bring it in.
But these are things that we have to. But these are things that we have to look at in this country, because I think it is causing Barbados to be underperforming and not very competitive.
Hold a second, please, caller. Just give us a moment. Yes.
In this day and age, you hear visitors in Barbados complaining in stores. They look at the prices of things and they recognize that it does not make sense to spend that money here. I think that we have taxed ourselves out of the competitive market. All of these things are due to the level of taxes that you have in the country. And we really need to have a proper assessment in terms of a number of these companies, the markups that they have on their items, and match it back to the level of taxes that they're actually paying to the government in terms of income tax. All because when you have these high prices, you are basically making the country very uncompetitive.
Yeah. We have another caller here. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, Marcia and panelists. What I will say is the LP needs to put something in place, even if they put it in the manifesto. I understand when you put things in your manifesto, it's a promise, so keep them. Do not put anything you know you can't keep. Keep them.
Mm-hmm.
Two, with the thing issue with courts, and as people said, sometimes it's not only courts. Courts have some policies that are not right to their customers. Pardon me?
Go ahead. I said,
Yes, I purchased, not me, but someone I know purchased something from courts. They did not ask up front for the 3 months thing, so but when they went, they asked the person, can I pay for this particular item in 3 months and get a cash? No, you would have had to say so at purchasing. No, I know it wasn't so all the time, but no, they're not even telling the customers these things. If you have more than one account and you want to pay on one account, they tell you no, you have to spread it over the accounts you have. And I experienced that, and I was not pleased, and that is the truth.
oh wow. So this lady has opened up a can of worms. So we're seeing is this something that I don't know, that the DLP could champion, or write a letter to the FTC, or I don't know. I'm not into politics. I'm just wondering, because this seemed to
No.
go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
What the DLP can do is to have, I don't know how they're going to do it, look at the policies of these different car purchase places. Have changed the FTC mode of operation, because they do not operate like a true FTC. Get some person who understand what is FTC and understand that it is supposed to be a non-interference organization. And that nobody can call and say, man, rule against this or rule against that. No. When FTC laid on law, you have to abide by it. And if it means that you have to do a multi approach in terms of a board, which will say, look at the law, this is wrong. And they can even give judgments outside the law if the law, there's no law there, and it will be binding. If you do not abide by it, start charging penalties, whether it be to the business places, whoever. Start charging penalties and stick to it. Don't charge a penalty and then any man tell you, oh, can we pay that next week? No. Pay the penalty in a week. Get it paid. Or not somebody getting locked up.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Marcia, if we can also add to what the caller is saying, right?
Yes.
There's an organization in Barbados, the Barbados Consumer Empowerment Network. Those agencies should not have to be going about seeking funding in order to do their work, but a caring government should provide them with enough funding for a secretariat that they can do research and actually go after these companies and bring the proof to the government, so that then the government could implement the necessary legislation and put the checks and balances in place, because there's actually no one out there really protecting the consumers in Barbados. And if you had agencies like that being watchdogs, are actually going after companies and highlighting these things, because it's not just the one company that was called, but you get it in telecommunications as well, in all of the different sectors. You get it with car parts, because you will buy a part, the part comes as one, but if they can get two pieces taken off of it, you got to go back and buy the two pieces separately. So all of these are things that need to be investigated as well, and that is why you need agencies like that should not have to be suffering for financial support to pay the researchers and the persons who would actually have the time to do this job on a day-to-day basis and get the information and bring the facts.
Yes. Caller, you
Final,
had a final quick comment.
Final quick comment. In terms of education, we need to revolutionize our education. Stop doing but work. We need things like, oh, you've got MIT, you do practical and not from first farm primary school. So y'all need to put that as part of your manifesto. Whoever is in charge of education Let them look to see how we're going to revolutionize our education. Law school have
So we
nothing
can have
here.
hands-on
Technical to
training.
go there, have relationship with people, the colleges overseas that are exemplary. Start with this, but work education. Start talking about it, implement it.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
calling. Just to let you know, we had lost about half hour due to the internet issue. So we will go a little bit over, just 15 minutes over, if the good gentleman will allow us. Is
Sure.
that okay, sirs?
Yeah,
Um,
no
so we will take a couple more calls because I promised you that we're going to do this, and I want you to speak up. So go ahead. Thank you to those who've called. We had a lot of new callers tonight. That's what I want. Use your voice, speak up. But Mr. Shepherd, you're a teacher, I believe, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
37
And you
years.
heard the caller talking about revolutionizing education. And oh gosh, we've heard these terms about education just throwing or floating around. What are your general thoughts about that?
As an educator of 37 years, a former president of the Barbados of Teachers, I certainly have my personal views on education, and I have views based on my experience in the system as well. And I totally agree that education in Barbados must be revolutionized. I said it before and I will say it again. Until we find a minister of education who has courage, we will continue to patch and do piecemeal work on education. 4 years ago, we were promised education reform. 4 years later, nobody is any wiser as to where we are going with education reform. We were told about the common entrance examination and the need to scrap it and come with something new. We are still waiting for the solution. I believe that we have to take education serious in this country, and we have to reform it. I have serious problems with a number of the policy initiatives of this administration related to education. My biggest one and most recent is I don't even know the full name, but this whole dress code thing. I believe that is going to, well, we are seeing the results of it already, but I believe that particular initiative cannot serve education well in Barbados. I know we want to be liberal and we want people, we said it was COVID and people couldn't get to barbers, and so we allow them to have the hair grown anyhow. It's called a grooming policy. Yes. But I think that we are being ridiculous with it, and I believe that students are abusing it. I believe that parents are also abusing it. It has so many.
Let me ask you, in what way? You're a teacher, and are you at a secondary school, sir?
I'm at the primary.
And you're seeing students are abusing at that policy at the primary school level?
Yes, and it has a lot of implications for health as well. You have children who parents prefer to send to school with hair plaited, but you're not plaiting the hair every week or every 2 weeks. So you have children come to school with their hair fuzzy. You don't know if it is cornrow, if it was the old people 4 plaits or 6 plaits. You don't know what is within the head of the child, because nobody now is grooming. It is a grooming policy, but nobody's grooming the children. So they come into school and they look unkept and so on. The dress, and it has a lot to do with their behavior and the discipline as well, because in the society, you have persons who want to walk around with their pants below the behind. So children come into school and they believe too that they can pull the pants down. You have people in society, adults in society, who it is their choice, and rightfully so, to determine if they want to lock their hair, if they want to leave it on not combed, looking unkept for a while. That is the choice of an adult. I don't believe that a 5-year-old or 6-year-old child should have that option. I believe that these children need to come to school well groomed. And I keep saying to my, well, not my staff, but the staff at the school at which I work, that we are role models for the children. The children are now watching us. They come to us as sponges. Everything we say, everything we do, these children take in. Children don't listen to parents, you know, they listen to teachers. They watch how teachers dress, how teachers speak, and so on. And we have to be careful because we are creating a set of students in this country who are very indisciplined, who believe that they can walk around the schools and so on looking rough and untidy. We have children now who can't tie laces because it is not a practice to have laces tied. You come in on Monday mornings, your shoes not polished. Parents are not looking at, most parents, let me say, are not looking after their children. A lot of the children are now becoming parents at a young age, having to look after brothers and sisters and so on. You have issues with the nutrition policy where they're cutting out snacks in schools, but parents are still encouraging children to spend $10 on mornings at the vendors outside the school to buy the snacks. I heard somebody this week saying the government, if they're serious, they should not import the snacks or have snacks made in Barbados. And then you look at the curriculum, we say that the curriculum is not suited for this time, but yet we are not modifying the curriculum. In some cases, it is overburdened in some sections of the, or some levels of the school system. It is overburdened, too packed. We are not doing anything. The ministry is really not taking education seriously. And you had a year or two ago a number of sessions where they pulled teachers from schools for the education reform program and so on. We had a nice pretty booklet on education transformation. And today, what? There was a unit set up in the ministry. The person who headed that ministry is now strategic advisor to the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Education. Education is
yeah. So let me ask you, yeah, Mr.
Education.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and I'm in agreement with a lot of what you're saying.
And don't even let me get to the issue of taking principles and transferring them the night before school start and all this kind of nonsense.
Yeah. So Mr. Shepherd, are these some of the issues? That, you know, you're going to be proposing some solutions to these issues in your manifesto?
If I have anything to do with education in relation to the Democratic Labour Party going forward, people in this country will see radical changes to the education.
Okay. So that is what. Okay. I think we're at the end. I'm not seeing anybody else calling in. And we really wanted to look at the year. We wanted to look at the year as Mr. Thorne, as political leader, which we touched on it in a show on 2 nights ago on Sunday, but we never got a chance to look at it. I mean, as a leader of the opposition, but we never looked at him as a political leader. And so I thought it would be good once we have you guys on, you know, to get that done. But I know Mr. Senator Worrell, you wanted to talk about give us a little, you might have to come back, you know, but just touch a little bit about the cybercrime bill. Can you give us an update on the cybercrime bill?
Well, the update that I can give is that so far nothing more has been done with the cybercrime bill. Since you had the case at the International Court of Human Rights. Yes. So the bill is still there on the order paper. In the Senate, I believe it is, and nothing more has been done with it. So it will continue to remain on the order paper until they decide that they will debate the legislation. So I don't know when that will be because the cabinet will determine the time period for debating legislation. But as it is not the law of Barbados. It is still there for the paper to be debated in the Senate, I believe it is.
Well, Thank you for that. Anything on health you want to tell us?
Well, just generally, well, obviously, you know that the estimates will be coming up in a few weeks. I think that many Barbadians are concerned with the quality of healthcare delivery in Barbados, not just at the QEH, but also at the hospital, at the polyclinics as well. And then the fact that you are not seeing environmental health officers going around the country as they used to before. We really don't want to have a situation where you have another outbreak of dengue or Zika or any of those vector diseases in Barbados. So you really need to have the environmental health officers going into the communities and making those checks. Right now, I know of a school that has been closed for probably about 2 weeks because of COVID. And it is going to be a nuisance throughout the country as well. These are things that need to be addressed. What I have found is that obviously, you know that the government is in an IMF program. And in an IMF program, you normally try to cut your budget. Prior to COVID, it was a trend, not just in Barbados, but globally, for governments to try to reduce their expenditure in healthcare, to make it less of their national GDP, so bring it down below 9% of the GDP. And to some extent, we're still trying to operate under that model here in Barbados. But you know what has happened globally in the world after COVID? It has been recognized that you need to spend more of your budget on healthcare to modernize the system and to build resilience into the system. So that is why we are having all of these challenges. If the government is consistently cutting its budget for healthcare, obviously it means that you will not have adequate stores of medication. Obviously, it means that you will not have adequate complement of nurses and doctors, which is a problem here in Barbados, and that you will have longer waits for operations and procedures. These are things that we need to address. There's a global trend. If you look at the OECD, they recommend that you may need to move from that 9% to about 11.6% of your GDP on healthcare, because they're always saying we could have another pandemic such as COVID. And you therefore need to build some resilience into the system to deal with that. As a result of COVID, a lot of persons' health has deteriorated in terms of the non-communicable diseases, and even the emphasis that we played before on sexually transmitted diseases had been diminished because the focus was really on COVID. And you would have heard recently, skirting around the issue, sometime last year, there was increased incidence of HIV, especially among young persons, and also the type of the strain of the infection has also changed, that persons are possibly, once contracting the disease, are dying faster, even though you may have the cocktails available. All of these are things that you need to pay attention to, and we need to have this holistic conversation in our healthcare with it. You cannot be cheap with health, because the health of the nation is the wealth of the nation, because it would impact on the people that you have to work in society. And if you have more and more people developing hypertension, diabetes, you have to spend the money for their health care. So you cannot cheapen yourself in terms of cutting corners with health. And that is the message that I am hoping that this Barbados Labour Party government would get as they approach the estimates for 2025, 2026, and give Barbadians an ease. They need to spend more money in healthcare, get the doctors on board, the specialists, so that you would not have to be waiting years for an operation, get the equipment upgraded so that you wouldn't have to be waiting a whole year to get an appointment to get a CAT scan or MRI, and get the reagents and the drugs in. Whenever you go to the pharmacy, you find that you may be taking one brand of hypertensive medication, but then when you go back to get your prescription, repeat, that brand is no longer available or the pharmacy is out of stock. these are things that we cannot have in a modern healthcare system. We also need to be proactive in terms of really getting wellness on board, not just physical wellness, but mental wellness as well. Because there are a lot of people out there who may be depressed, who may be suicidal, and we need to pay greater attention. Look at the incident that you had just this week with the that happened in the St. Michael area. And you also need to have healthier lifestyles, which includes diet and exercise, both of which are costly in Barbados right now. What can be done to make it better? These are actual areas that could be job opportunities for young people. There's so many young people in Barbados who are interested in fitness and nutrition. Can we envision a Barbados where we can actually pool their talent, get them to work in jobs which they actually like, and develop meal plans for individuals, healthy meal plans, and develop exercise programs at the community level for individuals? These are things that we really need to be looking at and doing. And of course, you need to upgrade the facilities at the polyclinics as well across Barbados. So these Barbadians complain bitterly every day for the state of healthcare. You have to wait in accident and emergency too long.
Too long, yeah.
They need to change the way how they operate.
So let me ask you something. The two things I want to say is that I would love, I'm listening to you, and it's so many, this is so wide, what you're talking about, and so many issues and so many concerns with healthcare, so many things to be fixed. And I'm wondering if you could have a presentation for us where we're going through, you know, each area, so that, because we're big on education on the show, we want people to be able to understand exactly what it is that you're saying. Some of what you're saying has to do with figures and so on. So I think something like that, a nice breakdown, would you know, it would be great if we can have it. But what about your manifesto? Are these some of the things that are going to be in your are you guys, the DLP, will you be addressing it? Because you're saying what's wrong, but how are you planning to fix it?
Of course, because I have to identify, because in order to come up with a manifesto, you need to identify what the problem is.
Yes.
So you identify what is the problem, and then you identify the solutions which would work, and these are the things which will go into the manifesto. So we are at that stage. For those persons who think that the Democratic Labour Party is just dead in the water, we are way ahead of what many people in Barbados may be thinking.
Yes. Okay. To someone just before, it's a young person, so I will entertain this question because he had asked it earlier, and apparently I didn't see it. Guys, don't think that that's why the phone is here. You can call as well. I can't see all the questions. I didn't even see the question. So he's saying that most persons at UE, they're studying law, biochemistry, or chemistry. And for the computer science students, where are the jobs for them?
There are plenty of jobs for
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There are plenty of jobs for computer science students. You would have heard recently, which is probably one of the good things, the program of cybersecurity. And you do hear a lot of complaints. I think in Jamaica recently, Scotiabank customers, they were being scammed. So all of these are areas that computer science students can get into, not just the networking and computers, but also we need to upgrade our utilization of the digital space in Barbados more. So, and I think that this is all part of where Pedro was speaking in the call before. We need to make our educational system more practical so that these students will not just think that you have a computer science degree, but be able to see how they can actually utilize it, leave university and utilize it. You should not be leaving university looking for a job. You should be creating programs and operating a business. We are end users here in Barbados, and we need to change that paradigm. We need to shift that where we become creators. A lot of us spend hours on our phones scrolling through Instagram and using various apps. Why can't we start developing some of those apps here in Barbados? Why can't we start developing that digital currency such as Venmo here in Barbados, so that if I owe you $20 and I want to pay you $50 for a ticket, I don't have to leave home to come to you to give you the $50, but I could easily do it across apps like Venmo or similar apps operating here in Barbados. These are things that we need to do.
And I must add there, can I say this here, Senator, that you know, in Ghana, and Dave will remind me of the name of it, the app that they use to pay. You know, you can pay cash, or you can use that app, and it was done by a young Kenyan student, actually. What's it called, Dave? M-Pesa. M-Pesa is by a young Kenyan. So these are, but we have to create the environment, you know, that these young people will be able to, that they're not coming out trying to find a job, but that they, you know, they are thinking in terms of invention, but we have to create that environment.
Correct.
There's no doubt that we have a lot of highly skilled Barbadians in the area of computer science. But we need to find the opportunities for them to utilize it rather than just simply setting up games and that kind of stuff.
Or looking to be a network administrator within a big company.
So this I mean, yeah, I think Theory, what he was saying, he was asking about the other things, but Theory, we are going to have to pick that up another time because of time. It's 10:15, and we are going to this is where we close out our show. Thank you all for obliging us and staying the extra 15 minutes tonight. So in essence, to summarize the year, in what would you say, Mr. Shepherd? What would you say about this year that Mr. Thorne crossed?
Let me say that the year since Mr. Thorne crossed the the floor of Parliament and came to the Democratic Labour Party has been a year of some challenges in the initial stages, but as I said, we have overcome, if not all, most of those challenges. He has now settled in as the political leader of the Democratic Labour Party. He is part of the Democratic Labour Party, fully embraced by the members of the Democratic Labour Party. And so after 2 or 3 months of trying to find himself in the Democratic Labour Party and feeling comfortable among us, because as Andrea said, there was the issue of trust. But once we got past that, I believe that he is now very comfortable at home in the Democratic Labour Party. I want to remind persons that Mr. Thorne ran on 2 occasions for the Democratic Labour Party, so he's not new to some of us in the Democratic Labour Party. And we have overcome those challenges, and the future ahead is bright. We have spokespersons, shadowing a number of ministries. We were able to set up 15 candidates in place. We have restored our database at headquarters. We are running George Street rather efficiently again. We are in the process of trying to see if we can get the subvention from government, which would allow us to do a lot more than we are currently doing. But the year has been, as I said, it started with some challenges, but it has been a very successful year for us. And I want to thank Mr. Thorne for giving us the opportunity to have him support us in what we are doing as we in the Democratic Labour Party continue to work towards recapturing the imagination of the people of Barbados and certainly becoming the next government whenever elections are called.
Wow, well said. How about our president, the president of the Democratic Labour Party, Senator Worrell? How do you summarize the year?
Well, I will summarize the year and saying, look, we have put in a lot of the groundwork, and I want to look forward now, and we have a bright future ahead for the Democratic Labour Party. with Ralph Thorne as the political leader, and I am looking forward to see what the rest of 2025 and 2026, and whenever the bell is rung for the election, what that will do in terms of changing the dynamics of this country, because that is where our focus is. And I really do appreciate Mr. Thorne for his vision and his level of commitment, you know, to the entire process. And, you know, he does have a heart that shows that he has the interests of the people of Barbados at heart, and he does give other people the opportunity to shine as well, as opposed to some people who take the credit only for themselves.
Okay, that's great. I have on the screen here our roadside parliament. This is something put on by the people of Barbados through the show, and they called me from St. Joseph and said, Marcia, we want a roadside parliament and cookout at Joes River. I want to know if these are the initiatives, Mr. Pedro Shepherd, that the DLP would support, because these are concerns that Josephines have and others, you know, about just what's happening in the country. Are you guys coming to this event?
How long will it last? Because we appreciate you doing this show for Mr. Thorne this evening, but that date is also when we have something planned as well to celebrate. The actual 16th is the day I believe that he would have joined the party.
Okay. Well, this is 3 p.m. and we're finishing at 5:30.
Well, then
we will try.
Maybe because right. I could probably pass, but we have the St. Michael Central meeting at 4:30. This is where we're actually doing that activity at the end. But I don't know. I can possibly try to pass before I head to the Common Mayor's.
At least pass and show your face. Try your best. I think it's important because this is something that matters to the people. Okay.
And I don't have a problem. I obviously don't have a problem with it, but 3 to 5 for a cookout, Joes River, you missing the best part of down there, the moonlight.
No, but you see, because of the crime situation, actually, we discussed that we have to leave early. We're like the busmen. We have to leave early. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, but the moonlight is good. The moonlight is good.
Because you should be coming down there at that sort of time for some roast breadfruit.
You know. We need to plan one of those. Guys, thank you all so very much, and I'm hoping to see everybody. Please, guys, all roads, we're going to be down at Joes River 3 o'clock to 5:30. Those of you who have other things to go, you can come and show your face and then head down. Okay, head back to what you have to do. All right, guys. Thank you all so very much, gentlemen. Thank you to the viewers for waiting with us, even though we're all having problems with the internet. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dave. God bless. Bye-bye.
All right.
Dancers, come forward. Walk out. This one I got worldwide.
Just days after former government backbencher Ralph Thorne crossed the floor, he's taken the oath of office as leader of the opposition.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Ralph Thorne. On the other side. Cross the floor. Cross the floor. Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Wait there. Ralph Thorne. Dancing come back again. Our turn is the latest trend. Everybody know link up a friend. This one designed to be.
And more will be left over.
Dancing come back again. Our turn is the latest.
Are these trips so important?
Link up a friend. This one designed to be living our men.
Yes, I'm for real, member. I am for real. Don't let me talk out your business. Don't let me talk out your business. All right.
And I can't decide, so I'm moving with the die. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yes, and let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Ralph Thorne. On the other side, cross the floor.
There has to be some order here.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph.
The Minister of Finance is not party to this present transaction, Your Honor. Ask him to keep quiet, please. And I say to you further, Mr. Speaker, that my conscience My location here is related to my conscience. I said it last year. It is well with my soul.
Take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide, moving with the tide. Take a wine on the right side, take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide. 'Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. 'Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yeah, and let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn, Ralph Torn. On the other side, cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn, Ralph Torn.
That is my man, so whether he cross or in cross, he will always be there for us.
I came to a point where I had to take the decision that if my philosophical and political views do not accord with those of government in terms of its legislation, in terms of its policy, the relationship becomes untenable.